Welcome to Dear Book Coach. I'm Carrie Savage, a writer and certified book coach in Somerville, Massachusetts.
And I am Stephanie Detlefs, writer and book coach in Bellingham, Washington.
And I'm Terry Thayer, certified book coach, certified focusing professional from Longmont, Colorado.
This is a friendly advice space for you as you plan, draft, and revise your novel. In each video, we answer one question submitted by a writer like you with 3 different points of view, and you get to pick the advice that resonates with you. So this week, our question is from Lucy. Dear book coach, I've been working on my novel for a while now, but I've only recently started telling people about it. When I described it to one of my friends, she said, "Oh, that sounds exactly like," and named a well-known bestseller. Help! Should I stop working on this book and try to start something completely different? Stephanie, you want to start us off?
Yeah, well, I'll say first, Lucy, that because you've asked this question, we'll just assume that you didn't set out to plagiarize it. We'll just give you the benefit of the doubt there. In my first reaction is, wow, that means you came across a great idea. So good job. Your friend probably didn't mean that it sounded exactly the same, just that it had something about it that reminded her of what you were talking about, reminded her of this other book. Maybe it had a similar structure or a similar protagonist or a similar theme. The thing is, it's going to naturally be different because you are different than the author of the bestseller. And even if a lot of the details are the same, you're going to come at it from 2 different points of view. So I'd give yourself a little bit of grace there. It is cool to have other books that are similar because they can become comp titles, which you can tell an agent or an editor that your book is similar to, and this will help them visualize where your book might land on the shelves down the road. Of course, you don't want to be too similar because then, of course, while you don't intend to plagiarize, people will be like, nope, that book's already out there, sorry. And it might not look good to agents or editors, and it wouldn't sell in that case, which is your goal. So I would recommend, if you haven't already, that you give that bestseller that your friend mentioned a skim at least. And if they are too similar for comfort, I would say, as much as you're not going to like this, that you might have to give your book a bit of an overhaul to differentiate it. So that's what I have to say about that. Terry, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you have to account for the fact too that there's quite a lag in publishing. So if you're being traditionally published, so if something's coming out right now and it's a bestseller, chances are it may be good, because it could be like, oh yeah, I remember that was a good book and a good seller, which is what the publishers really care about. I've been in the quilting world for about 30 years, and I have seen quilters sue each other over copyright issues, and rightly so. Plagiarism, there's no place for that. But I remember early on in my quilting career, taking a class and having a teacher tell us, yeah, go ahead and copy my designs, literally trace my design. By the time you take it and you make it and you're going to make it your own, it becomes an entirely different thing. And of course, that was very generous of her, but I do think that's true for writing as well, any kind of creative work, because you are going to add your own self into it. So I would suggest that you allow yourself to think beyond the similarities and maybe actively look for the differences. We were talking about this question earlier this week, and someone mentioned the book, The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty. And my first thought went to, oh, that's like The Pilot's Wife by, and Anita Shreve. And if I told you the plot of both of them or a summary, you might think they were similar, but they're really very, very different books, and not just because of who wrote them, but they're also probably 20 years apart. And so the world is different, but look for those differences as well. And Well, I would say writing is about finding your spin on things. And, if the circumstances of the book might be similar or even the same, but told through your own lens, the story becomes something else. Just like that quilting teacher said, you put your own personality on it. Other themes may evolve, ideas that are unique to you. No one has your experiences, your philosophies, your truths. So write your story, write your truth. And sometimes you have to cross your fingers and hope for the best, because somebody could be out there writing the exact same book right now, and you could both hit the publisher at the same time. So things happen, but try and write your own story and see how that goes. Carrie.
Yeah, well, isn't that the truth about publishing in general? I feel like is, once you've written your book, you just cross your fingers, hope for the best. So there's a lot of that involved, of course, no matter what we're talking about. But as far as this particular question, I mean, I feel like just about everyone I've talked to, it feels like, who's written a book has come up against this in some form or fashion. I know when I started working on my current work in progress, I think I had been into it for about a year. And someone said to me in a class that I was taking, "Oh, have you heard about this book that just came out about my protagonist, who, it's based on a real historical figure?" And I thought, no, I hadn't heard of it. And I let myself be sad and annoyed and frustrated and feel like, oh gosh, that's it. There's, that's the book that's about this person. And then I thought, no, you know what? I strongly believe in this project. I really feel like it's important to me, so I'm just going to soldier on. And as we've been saying, like, I mean, I'm clearly not plagiarizing her book, so our books are going to be very, very different. I will say, like, I've chosen not to read it just because I don't want any of that seeping into what I'm doing. So if that is a concern, I do think that there's merit in skimming the story to see if there's similarities. If you have a concern about it, like I do, I had a friend who volunteered to read it for me and who's also read my book. So that was great. And my concern was not warranted, or yes, I'm fine. It's completely different book. So the bottom line is that no two books are ever going to be the same unless you're plagiarizing. They're like snowflakes. They're like people. They're like fingerprints. No one else is able to crack into your brain and write your story the way you will or the way that you have, because we all bring our own unique perspectives and experiences to our novel. And so they're all going to be as unique as we are, which is one of the beautiful things about writing fiction. There is one potential downside that you guys have touched on too, is if there's a rush of similar books that are hitting the market at the same time, you might be on the wrong side of a trend. And that, again, is strictly down to like crossing your fingers and good luck and timing and all of that. I think a lot about how supernatural creature stories tend to trend in cycles. It seems like for a year or so, like vampire stories are super hot, and then zombie stories and so on. And if your book is at a high level too similar to what is either in the market in the moment or what agents and publishers are aware is right on the horizon, you might want to think about whether it's good to pause or put that project aside. Granted, you might have some more limited sense of knowledge, but if you're paying attention to the trades and sort of the deals that are being made and descriptions that way, you can get some insight. And last but not least, to echo what Stephanie said, look on the bright side. You have a great comp title. And for me, that's personally something I find super hard, is comp titles. So like, easy peasy, bonus. So yeah, that's what I think.
I love that idea of having somebody else read the bestseller and not let that story seep into your story. So I take back what I said and do what Carrie said. We can do that here, right? Yeah, like have somebody else who's read your book or at least knows it pretty well, the story, and then read the other one and see. That's a great idea. Yeah. So that's it for us today. We hope that you found an answer that made sense to you at this point in your book and at this point in your life. Remember, you can submit your question to us anytime at dearbookcoach.com, and we will see you next time. Bye.